Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Wilson. I'm the Executive Director of Uptown United and Uptown Chamber of Commerce, and I am here to share some tips and strategies for getting your business storefront ready, if that is what is next for you in your business plan. So give me a second and I will get the deck up and we can get going. So while this loads, I would love in the chat for those that are able to drop in which part of the city you're located in, the type of business that you have, and the years in business that you have been in operation. And I'm going to kind of monitor that, and that's going to help me throughout my presentation refine some of the strategies as we go. As I said at the top, please drop any questions that you have in the chat box or in the Q&A, and I will get to those at the end of the presentation. So with that, let's get going. As I said, I'm the Executive Director of Uptown United and Uptown Chamber of Commerce. Just a quick FYI on who we are. We are located on the far north side of the city, right off of the Red Line between Ravenswood and the Lakefront, Irving Park, and Foster. And Uptown United is a neighborhood economic development organization. We are a nonprofit organization that focuses on the built environment in Uptown. We also administer the special service area in Uptown. All the banners that you see, the planters that you see, many of the public murals that have gone up are funded by our SSA. We're really focused on bringing beauty into areas of the neighborhood that are underutilized. But I also run the Chamber of Commerce. We are 101 years old, and we are one of the oldest chambers in the city and have really focused our efforts on building a strong, unified business community and nurturing a diverse, vibrant, thriving, strong Uptown through incredible customer service, as well as tailored programming for all of our businesses, no matter what stage in their life they are in. So with that, you all are here today to understand a little better what you should do if you were considering moving into a storefront. So today, what we're going to do is cover 5 broad topics, and I'll dive further into each of them. The first one is to plan for it. The second one is analyze it. Third one is find it, meaning the location. The fourth one, we'll get into how to prepare for that. You've found the location, what you need to do to be prepared for it, and then some pitfalls that you should really keep on your radar as you go throughout the process. So with that in mind, I see a catering company in the Q&A that's been in business for 3 years. Wonderful. Please feel free to drop in where in the city you're located, because then I can let you know of organizations like Uptown United and Uptown Chamber that you could potentially reach out to. So you are here because you're either an established business, or you're on the verge, like you're a newer emerging startup business, but you think that the next step in your business life cycle is to potentially be in a storefront. So one of the first steps we always tell our business clients is to plan for it. This means if you don't have a business plan, meaning an outline of what your goals are for your business, what your mission is, what products or service offerings you're going to be offering, as well as an analysis of your financials, such as projections, either with revenue or expenses, you should develop a business plan. It is a guide that you should periodically check along the way to refine as your business grows and experiences the ebbs and flows through a business life. So always make sure that you have that business plan at the ready and that you're constantly checking it, especially in light of the economic climate that we are in right now. A business plan that you may have written pre-COVID, if you've been around that long, might be vastly different than what your needs currently are. Or if you're one of those entrepreneurs that established themselves during COVID. It was one of those life changes that you wanted to take your hobby into a business. Your business plan may be different now because the economic situations are different. Costs are different. Processes may be different. So a business plan is something that shouldn't get dusty. you need to periodically check it to make sure that you are moving in the direction that you want to go and that a storefront actually is the right next step for you. And that also leads me to the next point, which is making sure you ask critical questions of your current operations. We have a number of clients who come in who may be operating out of an incubator space or who may be home-based businesses and think that they're ready to go into a storefront. It is really important for you to step back and to look at all of your financials and your business plan and your customer base to better assess where you truly are and then where you're going to be going. And if the increased costs that go into running a storefront can be supported by what you're planning on doing. For some folks with home-based businesses, they're solo entrepreneurs or sole proprietorships. Going into a storefront may involve hiring folks. Is your business plan and are your financials equipped to sustain hiring employees? It's really important that you take a hard look and an objective look at your business, which can be very difficult to do. This is your love, this is your passion. You love to do the work that you do, but it's equally important for you to step back and think of it as the numbers. Do the numbers make sense? Which gets to my next point that we try to reinforce with every consultation. When you do your financial projections for a business, whether you are in the beginning stages of becoming a business or you are ready to make that, you think you're ready to make that next step into a storefront, really try to curate realistic numbers that you would then plug into your financial projections. Key numbers you should be taking into consideration are realistic sales or services, what your rent is going to be, and I'm going to get more into lease negotiations in a little bit. What about your projected utilities? What about property taxes? And I'll get into that, but it's equally important for you as a business owner as it is for you as either a residential tenant or a residential owner to understand how much you are responsible for property taxes. It's no surprise. It's in the news that property taxes are either being reassessed or on the rise, and those costs tend to get trickled down somewhere. So for example, depending on your lease, you may be responsible for a small portion of the property tax increase, or you may not be responsible for it at all. But do you have a good sense of what potential property taxes you might have to build into your projections? That's really important. And also a contingency line item within your financial projections for repairs, the most random things that might come up. For example, we own our building here in Uptown United does, and it's a 100-year-old building. You never know what is going to happen. And, this is a small thing, but it's not anything we had planned for, but our doorbell buzzer kept getting stolen. And it's a small expense, but it's happened several times that it's starting to add up. And we always have a contingency line item within our financials to account for those unexpected repairs. So this is a tricky number for you to potentially project, but it's always important to have, I think, 5 to 10% contingency in case of an emergency type of situation. So for those of you that are unsure of how do I write a business plan or how do I go about updating my business plan, a resource that we love to send folks to is to SCORE. If you are a part of the entrepreneurial certificate program here with BACP, you will know that SCORE is a regular provider of webinars on throughout the year. They have a fantastic resource page called Business Plan Resources, where you can actually download free templates on how to develop your business plan, how to develop your financial plan. All those different questions are free and available to you. I highly encourage you to take advantage of the free resource and write it all down. I'm the type of person that I'm very much I need to physically write it down for to translate into my brain. Others are a typing type of person, or others are visual. I highly encourage you to put your ideas and your plans down on paper in some way, shape, or form, because it'll help you visualize where you are and make the necessary refinements as you go. Okay, so you have your business plan updated. You feel like you're ready to take that next step. Who's your target audience that you're trying to look for? Do you understand who your customer base is? It's really important for you to do a deeper dive into who your customer base is before you decide to go into a storefront. And there are several reasons why you want to do that. Particularly, and I will show you a tool that you can use to pull up demographic information. It's really important for you to know how far people are going to be coming to your business. Some businesses, like a coffee shop, tend to rely on people who are able to walk to their location or take the bus within a short distance, or transit, or to drive, versus a restaurant who may have a very unique type of cuisine, which will be a draw from a bigger base. Or you're a catering company, for example, and you're thinking about getting into expanded catering opportunities. You might need a shared kitchen, so less customer traffic, but you need to be within certain distance of major roadways, things of that nature. It is really important for you to drill down into your customer bases so that you can better identify potential locations within the city for your location. It's also important for you to understand what are the key factors driving people to you. What is it they love about your business? What is it that keeps coming them back? Is it because you are a curated gift shop that has these very unique items, or are antiques, and you're tapping into the neighborhood around you, or you're an importer, and so you get things that you can't find elsewhere. It's really important for you to understand where and why people are coming to you, but it's also equally important to understand who your competitors are. It's one thing to be a home-based business or located in a shared commercial kitchen, for example, where you are either selling your items online, you're going to farmers markets, you are catering, or you are strictly a service-based organization. When you go into a storefront, a physical storefront, you need to understand who within a certain distance around you is doing the same services, similar services, has similar product offerings, because one, you should understand how to differentiate yourself, because healthy competition is great, but you need to have a distinguishing factor from those other businesses. Are you a yarn shop? And have you looked at the neighbors around you where there are unique framing or photography studios or galleries or retailers with niche clothing items that tend to describe the customer base as very localized, very crafty, very hands-on and unique? Or are there other jewelry stores or yarn stores around you? And is that going to make it more difficult for you to get the sales that you need to sustain your business? So it's really important for you, just in general, to be able to clearly articulate what distinguishes you as a business from those that are within similar industries as you. What's your brand? Why do people want to come back to you? That's going to be essential for a storefront. So before I get to the next one, which is finding the location, I'm going to switch my screens for a second, and I want to show you a couple free tools that you can use to help you identify where your customer base is. One tool is just looking at your sales. Some point of sales can show, based off of credit card data, the zip code from which your customers are coming from. Others, you can use surveys, customer satisfaction surveys at the end of a service or a shopping experience to gauge where your customer base is. But Cook County has a free website, and let me switch to it right now. It is called Connect to Cook. And what Connect to Cook does is it provides free data within a mapping subset. And hopefully everybody can see the screen that I'm sharing right now. It's going to look like this, and I am going to drop the link during the Q&A portion for everybody. It's going to look like this. It's an online mapping tool. Think Google Maps, but with demographic consumer spending data powered behind it. And it's all free. So before I joined Uptown United and Uptown Chamber of Commerce years and years ago, I used to work in what's called market research, but on the real estate side. So I got into the data to understand why development projects or renovation projects or community plans should go or should not go into various locations. And it really came down to examining demographic data and spending data. And Cook County, within the last several years, put out Connect to Cook and allows you, by just clicking this Get Started button, to go to this website where you can then pull the similar information that market research folks would have access to, at least the most basic stuff for you to better understand who your customer base is. So I'm going to do a quick showing of how to utilize this tool. And again, this is being recorded, so you can always go back and watch the steps that I take and try it on your own so that you can get a sense of this is what and whom is within the area of the potential location I'm looking for. So the first step, I will drop the link in, is to go to the website, hit Get Start, and it's going to pull up this map. What you then do is you're going to click Define Areas for Reports. And I like to select a location, and here's why. So when I put a location in, I'm going to put in my the building that we're in right now. So 4619 North Broadway, and you'll see it's going to start to auto-populate. I click it and I hit go, and it's going to pull it up on a map. You can see that here. We're not gonna name it right now. But what's important when it comes to market research, as you think about going to a physical storefront, is how far folks are coming for your services, your products, your food, whatever it may be. You can pull the information off of whatever that radius might be, okay? So let's do drive times. This is something, or you can do rings. Let's do drive times. Let's say I'm a business owner and I require folks to drive to my location. Let's say I'm an antique dealer and I also have furniture. So I would assume people are going to be driving in from farther distances to come see my shop. So let's think, I want to see who's within a 5, 10, 15-minute drive time of my location, just to see, is this the demographic that I think is going to want to spend money for my products, for the furniture that I'm curating? So I put that in and then I hit apply. Boom. It calculates what a 5, 10, 15-minute drive time from my location is. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, other than I think that's pretty fascinating. They could do it so fast. You then go to Get Reports. Hit Get Reports. Go to Standard Reports. You don't need anything more. But here is where I can look at various census data information. So for example, I want to know the community around me within that drive time. What are the pieces of information that may come up that I need to know about my business? So you click it over here. I don't know why it has Beyonce in there. That's my neighbor next door. And then you hit view. Now you open it, and this is what the information looks like. Let me zoom in. Let me see if I can zoom in for y'all. So you get a sense of You can see what the population is. It even gets you daytime population for some businesses. That is essential to understand, like your breakfast, lunch place. Maybe you're banking on people who work nearby coming to your location for lunchtime or something of that nature. You can see the difference between people who work within that radius and the people who live within that radius. You can look at households, you can look at families. Maybe you own a resale shop that is centered around children. You're going to want to know this information of how many families are in that area and the size and what the projection might be. So all of this information, what the household income is, what the average median income is within that area, because it's important for you to understand what the income threshold is for folks who are going to be tapping into whatever your services is. So folks who have the ability to pay you for the goods, the services, and the employees, the potential employees who are helping you execute your business. So you can then save this, you can print out this report. This is all free. And I love to shout this from the rooftops. It takes a little time. It could be a little unnerving at first as you dive into it. But I encourage everyone who is seriously considering a storefront to go back and really think about putting in different locations, different areas of the city or the suburbs that you're thinking of, and pull up this information to see what the numbers are looking like from population perspective. And does that align with what your business plan is? So all of this is free. I'm going to drop this in the chat in the Q&A later on, but highly, highly encourage everyone to go ahead and play around with this data. It's a wealth of information that is free to the public. I don't think most people know about it. I just happen to be an incredible data nerd and love this kind of stuff, but I love to at least put it out there so folks understand that resources are available to you for free to do this. With that in mind, you've now started analyzing who your customer base is. You've looked potentially at Connect to Cook to understand who the market is depending on your potential locations. You've updated your business plan. You've done multi-year projections. Now you feel like you are comfortable enough to start looking for a location. So the first thing would be building off of that potential Connect to Cook resource to identify where your target customer base is. But then definitely reach out if you're here in the city of Chicago. Let me put that out there, to reach out to a Chicago Business Center, your local Chamber of Commerce, go to BACP's website and identify who a neighborhood business development center is within your area and reach out to them. These are folks that are on the ground, that often know the property owners, that know what storefronts are vacant, that know where there is turnover, know potential details of what the square footage is, what the lease is. Utilize the folks in your neighborhood. They know it often better than anybody else. So reach out to them to see if they can help you identify either the vacant property or available properties. It's something that we do offer here in Uptown. For folks, we have a service that we pay for to get detailed information, but we also do the hard work, and many organizations like ours do the same by just walking the corridor and identifying all the vacant storefronts and reaching out to the business owners. So do that. Once you start narrowing your list down, you understand how much square footage, what size space you need for your business. You understand if you need close proximity to transit, like the red line, the green line, the blue line, Metra. or you are a business that is more manufacturing or industrial in nature, so you need to be near one of the major highways like the Kennedy or the Eisenhower. You've done all that research. You're starting to narrow it down to certain streets. One step I cannot stress enough for you to double and triple do is to check the zoning. Zoning is a bit of a scary word because it has a lot of layers to it. So basically, the city of Chicago and municipalities around the country have what is called zoning. It is a classification that dictates what type of use is permitted on within a specific location. Going way back to the origins of zoning, just real fast, it really came out of industry like meat processing, heavy steel, and think the Industrial Revolution, where people were living immediately adjacent to them. There were no rules on who should be living where businesses should be located. It came out of a public health crisis, essentially, and really wanted to separate the heavy, noxious industrial uses from residential areas and other uses. That's an oversimplification of it, but basically, you need to look to see where your potential location is if your business is permitted to be there. The city of Chicago and many municipalities identify different types of uses as being permitted, not permitted at all, or potentially permitted, but with something called a special use. And this is a way for the city to make sure there aren't any conflicting uses immediately adjacent to each other. It's by no means perfect, or there's evolution with it, but have no fear. I will show you right now how you can go about identifying the zoning for your potential location. So we're going to go over here. Hopefully everybody, let me just double check, make sure you guys are seeing my City of Chicago zoning map. City of Chicago zoning map, Google it. This is going to come up. It's immediately going to look overwhelming to you. Don't worry. Do not worry. What you need to pay attention to is up here where it says search by address or property identification number. Type in the potential addresses that you are considering for a storefront. So I'm going to use my building again as an example. I'm going to go 4619 North Broadway. And because this is just the city of Chicago, I don't need to put in the municipality. But if you are located in a municipality other than the city of Chicago, go to that municipality's website. They will have some zoning information available to you so that you can identify what the appropriate zoning is. So once you put in the address, hit this little, what is that, a globe, and it's going to zoom you in, and this is going to show you all of the information about that particular property. Okay, what you need to know is when you click on it, you are going to look over here on the left. It's called zoning districts. This is what's important. Okay, it's called B3-2. In the city of Chicago in particular, there are two commercial zoning designations that you're going to want to look for your particular use. It's either going to be a B zoning, which is called business district, or C, which is commercial. That's a broad statement. Depending if you are industrial, you might want to be looking for what's called M, manufacturing zoning. It really depends on what your use is. So you're going to want to look there and take that information. So we're B3-2. This is overwhelming, very, very overwhelming. But don't worry, do not worry, because BACP has a new guide out called the Business Zoning Guide, where you can, and I will drop this in the Q&A in the chat as well. Again, free resource available to you, where you can now go here and it gives you examples of what is zoning. It gives you a definition of what the commercial districts are. But here's what's really important. It identifies what industry they license, what the types of uses are, and if you are permitted in any or all of the zoning districts that exist in the city of Chicago. So I have said that I am an antique dealer, okay, or a resale store. I am going to scroll down, and there's a lot of different uses. If you've been through the business license process, you know there's lots of different categories. You need to find the best and closest description to what your business is. I'm going to keep scrolling. I'm going to keep scrolling. I'm looking for, let's see, retail. Where's retail? I think I'm on M. All right. Residential, retail sales. Okay. So let's say what did I say? I'm an antique dealer, resale type of shop. Okay. Maybe I also do clothing. Maybe I have a mix of things. So maybe I'm classified, BACP classifies me as general retail sales. Okay. Remember, from my zoning map, it said my ideal location that I put in was B3-2. So I go to this little guide. I will zoom in so you can see what I'm looking at more better. I look up here, B3, look at the B3 part. I come down here, boom, green. That means I'm allowed to operate in that potential location under the zoning. Let's imagine I wanted to be, I don't know, maybe I wanted to be a cabaret instead in that location. Well, it shows it as B, or as blue for B3. That means, and when you go up, sorry for the scroll, as you can tell, it is a big document. It means I'm permitted with a special approval called a special use. Or maybe I'm something that's green, orange. It means it's going to need a lot of different specifications. And sometimes if it's white, that means I'm not allowed in that zoning district at all. So this can feel very overwhelming looking at all of this. Again, utilize the folks within your neighborhood, like in Bronzeville area, QCDC, South Shore Chamber of Commerce, Greater Southwest Development Corporation. Folks and organizations like ours here in Uptown have the skills to help you decipher what all of that means. One of the key things people come to us for is they have been so excited, they have found a location, they've signed a lease, and then they've come to us and said, but I have found out that my use is not allowed in this building, and I have to get what's called the special use. That is an expensive error to fix. It's doable, but it's expensive depending on the location and what your type of use is. And it's something that we try to stress early enough. It's an avoidable step. So really take the time to meet with folks within your local chamber, your Chicago Business Center. If you're in the suburbs, at your municipality's local economic development bureau or planning bureau or zoning, to understand, yes, I'm allowed here, no, I'm not allowed here, or yes, but I got to go through some extra steps. So you've now done all that. You are now permitted in that location. Get a commercial broker or a real estate attorney on your team and have them, if they're available, particularly a broker, go with you to tour the properties. It can be very, very exciting to go step into what may be your business. But if you've never been in a storefront, a commercial location before, and within the lens of, I might be responsible for this place, it could be a bit overwhelming because you don't necessarily know what types of questions you should be asking of either the broker showing you the space or the building owner. Have folks on your team who understand commercial real estate, because it can save you money in the long run by avoiding costly mistakes. So highly recommend, again, I'm going to plug my colleagues in the chamber and the economic development world. Reach out to those folks and see if they have solid referrals for folks who work within your industry space that you can then connect with and see if they're a right fit for you and help work as part of your team to help you identify the best location for your storefront. I cannot stress the power of the chamber world and the neighborhood business development center world to you enough. These are folks who are on the ground, who know what is going on, who to talk to. This is a cost-saving measure that many folks don't realize is available to them. Take advantage of it. So you've done that, and you've now toured the property, and you have identified the one. You want to say yes to this location. Great. You want to start the negotiation process. If you do not have a real estate attorney or someone who is familiar, an attorney who is familiar with real estate commercial leases, get an attorney. We stress, do not sign a lease until an attorney has reviewed it for you. We have had countless examples here in Uptown where maybe it's a ground floor commercial space above 3 floors of residential, and maybe it is a residential developer or management company that is leasing a space, but they don't really do commercial. Their bread and butter is residential. Residential leases are extremely different than commercial leases. I can't stress that enough. Residential leases are different than commercial leases. So if you rent your property right now, where you reside, where you live, the lease that you sign is going to have different requirements than a commercial lease, what you're responsible for. Get an attorney or someone who understands the legal lingo that is in leases to help you negotiate terms that are going to protect you as a tenant and be in your favor to make sure that everyone is satisfied within this. I cannot stress that enough. Again, go back to your local chamber of commerce, go to your neighborhood business development center, go to you can even just go online and search for real estate, commercial real estate attorneys. Talk to folks. Do you know a business owner who just went into a storefront? Ask them, who was your attorney? Who helped you review your lease? Do that before you ever sign anything. And I say that because there are things in there like personal guarantees. Some commercial leases have personal guarantees if something were to happen within the space, like you're not able to pay rent, or there's something that costs more than what is agreed upon, and you are unable to pay for that. There are personal guarantees that may be written in there, and you could be personally responsible. They could go after your personal assets. Make sure you have an attorney review all of that before you sign anything and explain it to you so that it fully sinks in on the weight and the responsibility that you would then have as a commercial storefront operator. So this is just a quick look at the zoning guide, which I showed you. And again, I will drop that in the chat. Again, this is what the zoning map looks like. So you've gotten that attorney because you've talked to folks, you've gotten a solid referral, and you've reviewed the lease, you are ready to go. Make sure that you are financially prepared for what comes next. When you're going through that property tour and before you sign that lease, you're noting all the things that need to be done in there. And you're noting within the lease who's responsible for what. Is it you, the tenant, responsible for, I don't know, new windows for updating the bathroom, or is that the landlord's responsibility? How much of a renovation, if it's what's called a raw space, meaning it doesn't have flooring, it doesn't have ceilings, it doesn't have the HVAC, like it really needs to be built out. Who's going to be responsible for that? Are you responsible for part of that? Make sure you financially plan for what those costs are. And again, I'm going to go back to my colleague friends, ask for referrals for contractors. Go talk to that business owner who just may have renovated a space. Who did you use? Did you like them? Were they reasonable? Who else did you compare them to? Make sure you get adequate amount of quotes to really compare the services provided and the costs associated with them so that you can then make sure you're getting a good deal with a very reliable contractor and you're financially prepared for it. And you also have folks who know exactly what kind of permits that you need to get from the Department of Buildings should you be doing renovation work. So you've done all that, but you know you're going to need to have what's called a bridge loan potentially to help cover renovation costs or your startup operation costs to get you going. I can't stress enough, make sure you have all of your financials ready to go before you ever go talk to a loan, to a bank or a financial institution to help get potential financing for your storefront. We have done, oh goodness, several rounds of grant assistance for business folks. And one of the most common hurdles that we face is people hadn't filed their taxes or they couldn't find where all their documents were. And so to ensure efficiency for you, make sure all of your taxes have been filed in a timely fashion, make sure you have the copies of them, make sure you have all of your financials, meaning what your bank statements look like, your balance sheets, your profit and losses. Make sure you have all of that available because when you go and shop around for the right banking partner for you, the first thing that they're going to ask for is that portfolio of financial information. They're going to want to assess whether or not them issuing a loan to you to go into the storefront is going to be a viable loan for them, a viable risk for them. And they won't know that if you're not able to provide them with all the necessary financial documentation. One thing we always stress is shop around for who that best financial partner is for you. Larger banks may not be the right fit. Maybe you need to go to a credit union. Maybe you need to go to your neighborhood bank. We are so fortunate in the city of Chicago and the Chicagoland area to have a wide variety of financial institutions. Go talk to your local Wintrust, Old National Bank, TCF, Chase. Talk to the bankers. Feel them out. Do you vibe with them? What is their process? What are their product offerings? Is it a right fit for you? What are the costs associated of doing business with them? It's really important that you shop this around because when you go into a financial agreement with a financial institution, it's a huge commitment. There's a lot of risk associated with it. You want to make sure that you're working with a banker who's going to be responsive to you, who's going to work with your needs, who's also going to kindly tell you the things that you need to hear as you're going through the process. You want someone who's going to be a true partner with you in this new venture in going into a storefront. So shop around, go talk to your neighborhood folks because you don't want to settle. You're going to want to find someone who is the right fit for you. So you've done all of that. Now you are ready, for example, to get your business license associated with this particular, or change your business license to this particular address, or you are needing to do that renovation work. You've signed the 5-year lease, right, for this, but you need to do work ahead of being able to open. One of the most common pitfalls that we have seen with businesses who are about to go into a storefront is that they and their contractor will submit the documents that they need to get approvals for permits and things of that nature, and it's incomplete. They've left some of the fields blank. Well, we all know that the folks at the city work really hard to process applications as expediently as possible, but you missing a field or two or incomplete information sort of just creates a clog because then you got to start over and it's not efficient for anybody. So make sure you're thoroughly reviewing any and all documentation, permit applications that you are seeking approvals from. This is true about your business license. Make sure it's complete, make sure it is accurate, because accuracy creates efficiencies. Can't stress that enough. And if you need help with that, particularly business licenses, my neighbors and colleagues are able to help with that process. If you've got a contractor who's going to be doing renovation work for you, they should be skilled in applying for the correct permits, so that they're not applying for the wrong permit and then creating delays or issues for you later on down the road. The other pitfall, I would say, is more of a mental pitfall. You are so excited because you're going to be going into your storefront. You've signed that lease, you are ready to go, and you want to open now, yesterday. The reality is things take significantly longer than you think they will, especially if you're going to be doing any sort of work that requires a building permit. Things take longer. There's only so many folks within each of the departments who are doing reviews. There's backlogs. There's people that need to resubmit because they had an error, or there's issues on their building permit application and DOB sends it back for feedback, and there's a back and forth process. Things just take a long, long time. And so if you're looking for a space that's going to need a significant amount of work, you need to build in a longer timeline, but from the time from which you have signed that lease to when you realistically think you're going to open, you need to add a couple months onto that, just as a cushion. It's better. It's always the best case scenario that you go faster, but you should prepare for things taking longer, which sort of goes back to an earlier slide when making sure you financially prepare for it. When you are doing the analysis of whether or not it makes sense for you to go into a storefront, the cost associated with that lag time between when you sign the lease and when you actually open, are you financially prepared to carry the cost of maybe paying the rent, but not actually, generating as much income as you need to? For example, if you're a home-based business, but yet you're going to move into a storefront, can you sustain paying that rent? Can you sustain, for example, if you're going into a second location or a bigger location, but you're going to keep your existing location while you're doing the work in the second or bigger location? Can you continue to pay for the employees and all the operational costs while that construction is ongoing? It is really important that you factor in a longer timeline and make it be conservative with it, quite frankly, so that you make sure you are protected financially. You know what you're getting into, and you're not making a quick decision and then you're locked in to a longer term lease, and then I don't know, there's a delay in getting your site inspection. Say you're a restaurant and you need to have your kitchen inspected. Maybe it's been challenging trying to get health department to come out and do the proper inspections, or electrical to come out and do the inspections, and it's just taking longer. Are you financially covered for that? So it's really important that you have a hard conversation with yourself and look at the finances and make sure that you are able to cover the cost. We're working with a business right now who for a year has been contemplating whether or not to go into a storefront. And we've talked with her about potentially partnering with us on a program that we have called Vacant Storefront Activation, where we can help offset some costs related to going into a space. But we've been having that conversation for a year, and she's been digging into the numbers for a year, if not more. And now she's ready to do that because she has run the numbers. She has run the numbers as it relates to construction costs. She's run the numbers as it relates to not only construction costs, but how long construction is going to take and paying the rent in that time, while also trying to build up all of her marketing and all. She's done all of the analysis, and it's taken well over a year for her to feel financially comfortable to sign that 5-year lease and be ready to go. So really take the time to analyze your business, to look at all the little details and have a tough conversation with yourself of whether or not this is the right step for you. Some businesses will go through this process and realize, yes, it makes logical sense for me to grow my business by going into a storefront. For others, they go through the review process and realize, you know what, it's going to cost me more than I'm going to make. So maybe I just stick with where I'm at with the business model I am and think about other ways to grow my business. So this is a lot of information. It is completely doable to go into a storefront. Businesses do it all the time. And I believe that you are here to learn about ways to get yourself into that process, to examine it. And you've gotten some tips and tricks out of how best to make that decision. But really encourage you as a business owner to think about and understand the numbers and build the team that you need to help you make a sound business decision. Because having a storefront is an enormous responsibility. It also has great reward. Going into a storefront brings greater exposure to you. You're activating a commercial corridor and enhancing the feel of your neighborhood. I believe commercial corridors are the heart of our neighborhoods, and the health of them affect all the neighbors around them. And you could be a part of that positivity. It just takes a lot of conviction, bravery, finances in order to make that happen. But hopefully you have learned some things throughout this presentation that make it a little less scary, but I can't stress enough. Go talk to one of these Chicago business centers. Go talk to your local chamber of commerce to help get that guidance before you ever sign a commercial lease. If you take anything away from this presentation, do not sign a lease without having somebody review it on your behalf. That is one of the key things that we tell everybody, and I hope that's one of the key takeaways that you get from this whole presentation. So with that, I am going to jump over to the Q&A. I'm seeing in there, thank you guys so much for putting in there how long you've been in business and where you're located. I see some suburbs. I see in the Calumet South Side area. Fantastic. And so if you haven't connected with our good friends on the South Side or wherever you're located, this presentation will be sent out. But also if you go to BACP's website and type in Chicago Business Centers or neighborhood business development centers, you will be able to identify folks like us here at Uptown United, Uptown Chamber, where you can walk in and get the same exact services, if not similar services to what we offer, to help you identify where and what is available and who you should be talking to. So I see a couple questions here about that Connect to Cook. And let me go ahead and get that link for you all and drop it into, I think I can do the chat. So let me see if that will work for you all here. This system, the Connect to Cook, to my knowledge, is only available to, it only has data available within Cook County. So if you are in McHenry, if you're in any of the other surrounding counties, I would suggest you go to that county's website and see if their planning department or economic development bureau has anything of this nature. That would be my recommendation for a first start. So hopefully that's helpful. I unfortunately don't have contacts out in the surrounding the collar counties, but just a quick Google search of whatever your county is that you're located and type in demographic data or planning bureau, economic development bureau. It'll pull up the appropriate department and contact for you. And I highly recommend you just reach out to them and say, hey, do you guys have access to anything like this? And just start there. Otherwise, what you could potentially do if you know the location that you are looking for, I will pull this up quickly. There's a regional planning organization called Chicago Metropolitan Area for Planning. They pull demographic information for all of the communities, I believe, in the metropolitan area. And I will quickly show this to you all and then drop the link in the chat for you. But it looks like this, Chicago Metropolitan Area for Planning, and you can get information depending on where you're located. So for example, you can, let's see, data, you can go community snapshots. And if you go down here, here you go. You can get county data, you can get municipality data. And what it looks like is, I'm just going to pull a random one up. All that information you saw before when I was on the Connect to Cook website, the population, household size, you can get that through CMAP for free for the municipality. So it's not necessarily going to drill it down and allow you to do, 5, 10, 15-minute drive times or ring radii or anything like that, but at least gives you a sense of, if you're looking for, if your service area is a broader area, you can at least get a sense of what the demographic or your potential consumer market is. Let me drop this link into the chat for you all. And hopefully you find this information incredibly helpful. I rely on it actually quite a bit for my particular area of Uptown. And they often update their information. As census data comes out, CMAP will update their information. So this is something good for you just to kind of keep in your back pocket if you're looking to understand shifts in consumer markets and demographics. So hopefully that is helpful for you. I have a question about interested in opening an open salon suite in South Shore or Chatham. Highly recommend you talk to those folks out in that area on where that's potentially located. Salons are a bit of a tricky license to get and require certain zoning. So if you recall, let's see, let me go back to my presentation here about zoning, or the zoning guide. And this guide right here, it's going to tell you what zoning you need for salons, hair salons and nail salons. This is one of those ones where you should absolutely talk to the agency, the organization where you're looking to see if they have a list of properties that have that zoning that you need, so that it creates a little more streamlined process for you. There's a question about recommendations on finding a storefront. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a second because I'm sure it's not incredibly helpful, but my go-to is, if you have a particular area that you're looking in, let's say you're in Austin, okay? And you know that you might be wanting a restaurant space, all right? Drive the commercial corridors. Go walk them, hop on the bus, the train, whatever mode of transportation you are able to access. I cannot stress enough, go drive Chicago Avenue, go drive, I don't know, Cicero, go explore the area that you were looking for, because sometimes these buildings may be owned by an individual owner, and they might just put up a small for rent sign up in their window. That may not be on one of those paid services that organizations like ours have that identify vacancies and what's available for rent. So there's no better field work that you can do than taking some time out and actually canvassing the area and jotting down information. Write down that address, write down what the variable condition is. And if there's a sign in the window, write it down. And then when you build your team, or if you're just interested, give them a call, find out, but always have somebody on your team that can help you. If you go start to explore those storefronts, be there alongside of you, to help you ask the right questions as you're examining your space, such as, is the flow or is the setup of the space conducive to my business? Or do I need to do major renovation to make it work? Because that's an additional cost. Or is it pretty much ready to go and I just need to do some cosmetic kind of stuff? So when it comes to the storefront, leverage the people on the ground, like Uptown United or Uptown Chamber, or my friends all across the city who do similar work that we do. But also just go out, canvas that area, get a sense of, depending on what your clientele is, go out at that time of day. Are you a restaurant in which you anticipate being open at 9 o'clock at night on, I don't know, every day but Wednesday? Go out in that corridor, that area that you're looking at on a Tuesday, or within that time frame that you're thinking of. What does it feel like? Are there people out? Is there a lot of vehicular traffic or bus or train traffic? Get a real sense of the time of day for which your businesses are going to be operating in the area that you are looking to be. Because it's one thing to look online. You could pull up a map, do Google View, and see what it looks like and get a sense of, okay, the condition, but you don't really get a sense of what the feel is like until you're actually there. So I can't stress enough, it can be a time consuming process, but it's an undervalued process. Go out at various times for which your potential business might be in operation to get a sense of what the whole experience is going to be like for your storefront. And I think that could help shed some light into what operations might look like for you. So hopefully that is helpful to those that are looking. There are questions about dropping the resources in the chat. So I think I dropped the Cook County one in for the City of Chicago's zoning map. Let me drop that in the chat as well. Oh, maybe I can't drop. Oh, there it goes. Let me drop the City of Chicago zoning map. If you were located outside the city of Chicago and you need to identify potential zoning, please contact that municipality or go to that municipality's website for their zoning map. Zoning in the city of Chicago is not the same as Evanston, as Oak Park, as Hickory Hills, or anything of any of that information. So really go to that municipality. Who do we see the stuff you drop? Oh, okay, maybe. Oh, you know what? It's only going to the panelists. Let me see if I'm so sorry. I did not change the who it's going to. Thank you for flagging that for me. Let me redrop. Here's the City of Chicago zoning map. Let me drop back in. Here is the Cook County information. For those that are in the city of Chicago and you have identified the zoning, please take a look at the business zoning guide that BACP put out last year. This is a fantastic resource. I have a print copy and a PDF on my desktop that we often reference. It's a really easy, digestible guide. Please take a look at that. And then for those that are in the suburbs or the surrounding collar counties, please reference CMAP, the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, and the link I just dropped to everyone for community data. This is free information that you can download with the most recent census data. Highly recommend you take a look at it as you think about who your potential customer base is, and are the metrics, the data, sort of matching with what you are hoping to attract in terms of your customer base. There is a question about hookah. It's told the area needs to be standalone. Yes, that is my understanding as well, that hookah lounges need to be in standalone buildings. I think there might be a grandfathered situation when it comes to hookah lounges, but I can't say that definitively for those that are in storefronts that like share walls with other buildings. This is an area that I don't have much clarity on why that may be, but I would recommend you go talk to the Small Business Center on when that shift may have happened, or even talk to your local alder person. Maybe they're aware of why that may have been, but my understanding, and you can confirm this with the BACP Small Business Center, is that if you are pursuing a hookah lounge, it must be a freestanding building. So that's my best guidance for those that are seeking any sort of potential hookah lounge information. Let's see. I think I've dropped everything into the everybody. I've noted everybody in the chat. Well, I hope, and I think I've covered everybody in the Q&A. There is a question that just popped up. Let me see what that says. Is all the grant from the city for business all reinstatements? Catherine, I'm wondering if you're asking about city grants related to commercial renovations. Is that what you're referring to? In my experience, just for background, I used to work at the Department of Planning and Development, and now I'm over here, but the city does reimbursement. So that is really important for you to keep in mind if you are going to pursue any sort of grant opportunity with the city of Chicago. It's reimbursement. So for example, let me pull it up. There is a tool available at the city of Chicago. I want to stress that it is the city of Chicago that is called SBIF, Small Business Improvement Fund. It is a funding mechanism that exists in various parts of the city where a tax increment financing district exists, where if you're located in that area, you can apply for, let me step back. They offer up to about 90% reimbursement for commercial properties for reinvestment in capital improvements in the building. It's a fantastic tool, but as I had said in that very last slide that things take longer, this is one of those processes where it does not move fast. So if you're looking for capital right away to get that renovation done, you have to be capitalized to have that bridge loan to cover you so that you can then be reimbursed by the city. Now, the reimbursement with SPIF moves pretty efficiently, but I have to stress this is reimbursement. And I will drop the link into the chat if you want to go to their website and explore whether or not your potential location is located in what's called a TIF district, and there's a SPIF rolling out. SPIF is rolled out on a monthly basis across the city. The Department of Planning and Development will put out a calendar with Summer Core, identifying each month which SPIF districts will open. It is an application. I can't stress that enough too. It's not guaranteed. You have to apply within a certain window for what your project is, how much you're applying for, and when that window closes, it's typically 30 days. What the department and Summer Core will do is assess how many projects have been asked for money or asking for money. And if there is more money than that's being asked than what's available to distribute, they're going to go to a lottery system. If there are fewer, if the amount asked is less than what's available, then they'll issue a conditional letter to move forward in the process to those that applied. There is a process. You have to file, you have to provide your financials. You have to provide that you have debt clearance with the city, meaning you don't owe anything with the city. You have to show that you've got an active business license. You have to show the plans that you are wanting to undertake. It's a process. It is a process. We here are doing it. We're in it right now in the Wilson Yard TIF. It has been slow. We did it 5 years ago, and we're now doing it for more capital improvements like replacing our roof. Our building is over 100 years old. Our roof needs replaced. We're going to be doing that. We're going to be fixing the back stairs and the entryways and fixing the commercial space. So it is a process. Unfortunately, there is nothing that is quick. This gets to that last slide, but it is still a great resource to consider if the timing works out for you. Can't stress that enough. I keep saying can't stress that enough because we have seen issues come up along the way over the years. And so hopefully if you get anything out of this, it's the don't sign the lease and take your time. And so great. I'm glad you guys can see the information. I don't know of any program in the city, maybe other municipalities have it, where they issue the funds immediately for whatever the project is. In my experience in the city of Chicago, it has historically been reimbursement only. And so again, go back and look at your financials, what your projections are, making sure you have all your taxes filed, that you have the capital, the financial resources to shoulder those costs before you can get the reimbursement back if you are going through SPIF. I just want to clarify, that is for SPIF only. But you really should, just more broadly, make sure that you are capitalized and have all your necessary documentations before you go talk to any financial institution about any sort of financial loan or debt service related to you and in your business. I think we still have some time, BACP. Is that correct? I think we do. And I think I've covered everything so far in the webinar chat and the Q&A. Again, this information, this recording will be up on BACP's website. Highly recommend you reach out to your neighborhood organization like Uptown United or Uptown Chamber for the area that either that you're currently located or where you're thinking about going to, and talk to them before you sign anything. They are one of the best and most undervalued resources we have in this city, and I can't stress enough how invaluable they are to you in the long run and can help you avoid the pitfalls, a number of which that I have mentioned here on this call. So BACP, I think we've covered everything, unless somebody has any more information. My information, I think I put on the last slide. If not, I will drop my email into the chat to everybody. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, or my phone number at the office. You can always give me a ring. Happy to answer your question. And if you're not located in Uptown, I can direct you to the organization who might best work for you. Before I wrap up, it looks like there's another question. What are the top 3 challenges that people face generally regarding storefronts? I would say it is the timing. Not fully planning for how long it will take to get the storefront operational. There was a business up in our neighborhood that we understood was coming in. They had signed they actually bought the previous business. They were getting it ready, and it's been more than a year, and they can't seem to get it up and running for a variety of reasons. And so I think length of time is a factor. So I think that's one of the top challenges people face. The second, I would say, is being capitalized for any sort of contingency or that unnecessary or that unexpected expense that might come up. Making sure you are financially prepared for whatever may come your way, I think, is also a challenge, but it's not listed on here. But I would say making sure that you have a great marketing plan for storefronts, making sure people know that you are there. Think about how you're going to design your storefront. How are you going to entice people to come in, particularly if you're offering products or services that are really consumer facing? How are you going to entice people in? Activate your storefront. That is, I can't underscore enough the importance of how great visuals in your window can bring people in. If you clutter your windows with too many things, are you telling people, please come into my shop? Probably not. People might go, if they're walking by quickly and they just see lots of stuff in your storefront, they might be not necessarily enticed to come in. But if you really think about how you display everything, what your logo is, what the window is going to look like, that you have all of your details posted on social media, on Google pages, like you have a complete presence. Being accessible is an easy and low cost way for people to find you and to come in. And the storefront is, and the design of your storefront speaks a lot. And so it's something that we try to stress with folks of the importance of how you are presenting your business, which is basically it's your front door. You know, how are people viewing and making quick yes nos walking by of whether or not they want to go in based off of what they see in your storefront. So that's a challenge that I think is a easy-ish type of fix, of just really thinking about what you're putting in your window and how are you communicating what you do to entice people to come back in. What is your experience? What is the customer experience within your storefront? Is it just racks and racks and racks of certain things, or is it more curated? What is the flow of it? What's the aesthetic of it all? Consumers now are all about experience. We have seen it, the big shift in retail, in corporate retail these days, from big footprints to smaller footprints, and it's all experiential, right? You're no different as a small mom and pop shop in particular. What is the experience your customer is going to have from the time they see you on the sidewalk or on the street, passing by on the bus, maybe, to the time they go through and they're going through and exploring what you have to offer? Experience matters a lot to the customer base right now. And experience is not just within your physical storefront, it's your experience on social media and online, which could be a whole other webinar, which actually I think the ACP has already done, and you could probably go back and reference. But again, cannot recommend enough talking to your neighborhood organizations and go and explore the neighborhood that you're looking to open a storefront. What are other people doing? If people have all of their storefronts cluttered, but then you come in with a very curated design, you might pique some interest, or you've got a really interesting font, or you keep your lights on and you have activations in your windows, right? Small changes here or there can help entice people in. And that, I think, is a really great first step to getting your customer base and potentially expanding your customer base. So hopefully that is helpful. But I would definitely recommend you go back to BACP's website and look at all of the other previously recorded webinars on marketing. Can't underscore that enough. Marketing is huge these days. You can get into a storefront, but if you can't sustain the marketing and the drawing the customers in, it could become a challenge depending on what your business is. It could be a challenge for you. So you really have to think a complete picture of your social media presence, your online presence, and then the customer experience from what they see on the outside to what they see and experience on the inside. So hopefully that is helpful to all of you. Let's see, questions on city grants, other departments. Quick, I'm not aware of any other departments other than the Department of Planning and Development that offers grants for small businesses as it relates to storefronts. BACP right now does have a program, which I think might be wrapping up in the next couple months. It's called the Vacant Storefront Activation Program. There are several organizations like Uptown United that received a grant to activate vacant storefronts. Ours, we were able to rent 3 storefronts and put expanding businesses into those storefronts. And one of them actually signed on for 5 more years or 3 more years, which is fantastic. So I would go to BACP's website and see who is participating in the storefront activation program and see if there's opportunity for you to maybe test the market. As could be potentially a low cost way Maybe think about pop-up markets, farmers markets, something that's low cost so that you could, if you have goods, to try and test the market and the customer base and see if that area is a good fit for you. But other than that's the only other grant, but I think that one's ending pretty soon. So please double check BACP's website on that. I would say that for organizations or businesses locating on a variety of commercial corridors, if there's an organization like Uptown United, there might be what's called a special service area. I can quickly pull that up for you. Special service areas, you may have seen in the news, the city has passed legislation for what's called a business improvement district. But special service areas are when a collection of property owners agree within a defined area, agree to tax themselves and a specific amount to provide extra services within that defined area that go above and beyond what the city offers. Uptown United is the service provider. For the Uptown community area, we service more than 15 miles of sidewalks, so we're geographically one of the largest. But one of the programs that we do offer is called Curb Appeal, which is a rebate, again, a rebate. We can rebate up to 50%, or I believe it's $5,000 on a variety of curb appeal enhancements that you would make. So for example, new windows, tuck pointing. It's sort of like spiff, but a faster process, but lower amount that's available. I am pulling up the City of Chicago special service area provider list. Every special service area is different in terms of what they are offering. So some offer curb appeal, like we offer curb appeal rebate programs. We also offer security rebate programs. Others have something similar to ours. Take a look at this website and see if where you are considering a storefront is located within the special service area. Contact that service provider and see what they have available. Some operate on a first come, first served basis if they do offer appeal program or rebate programs. Some have application windows, which are similar to SPIF. I'm not sure if municipalities outside the city of Chicago have programs like this. So highly recommend that you reach out to that municipality's Department of Planning and Development or whatever the similarly named department might be and see what they have to offer. This is one of the programs that we're really proud of here in Uptown, of having the ability to rebate fairly quickly approved improvements to storefronts. As I said, people make snap judgments, whether they're walking by, they're in a vehicle, they're in the bus, whatever it may be, and what the building, the exterior, what the storefront looks like as it relates to their experience can affect whether or not they want to learn more about your business and want to come into your storefront if that is what you're hoping to achieve. So I dropped it in the chat. Please take a look at who the special service area providers are. And if you're located in it, what's called an SSA, see what kind of rebate programs. Again, please reach out to the municipality that you are working in and find out all the details. Most often or not, they're a reimbursement or a rebate. But they will also know if there are any upfront lending programs that are available to enhance storefronts. But always start with the neighborhood groups or departments that are on the ground. So I think we're coming up to time unless there is any sort of additional information. I think I've dropped my information in the chat to everybody. Please feel free to give me a phone call, send me a note. If you don't know who to contact in a particular area, I can help pinpoint you in the right direction. But I hope that you're able to take away some key pitfalls, some guidance along the way. And I believe in all of you. You're here to learn. Hopefully, this helps you make sound business decisions as you head into 2025.
Thank you, Sarah, for today's presentation. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you will automatically receive credit for your attendance today. To learn more about this program, please visit chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Again, that's chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Today's webinar was recorded, and you can view this webinar and past webinars on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. Thanks again, Sarah, for today's presentation, and everybody stay warm. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody.